Hey there, Patriots Nation. Welcome to your headquarters for the latest New England Patriots news. This is where the passion for blue, red, and silver runs deep, and today, we have some unmissable updates straight from Foxborough that you don't want to miss. So, hit the like button to support the team, and if you're not already a Patriots fan, hit the subscribe button right now and ring that bell, because around here, the season never ends. Seriously, do you think Will Campbell will be a great fit for our team? Let us know in the comments what you think. Are you ready? Because the game starts now. What if I told you that buried deep within the long list of undrafted free agents, names that barely made a ripple during draft weekend, there might just be a future Patriots star? No, this isn't a feel-good cliche. We've seen it happen before. David Andrews, Del Pettis, guys who came in under the radar and turned into cornerstones. And now, in this year's class of 19 undrafted players picked up after the 2024 NFL Draft, there are a few names that could quietly become the next unsung heroes of Foxborough. So don't blink, because if you do, you might just miss the next breakout Patriot. Let's start where the excitement begins, with Elijah Ponder. Now, if you've been tracking edge prospects post-draft, you may not have heard much buzz about the Cal Poly product. But according to evaluations, this guy is a freak. Ponder earned an eye-popping 9.7 on the Relative Athletic Score, RAS, and aside from being slightly undersized, nearly every measurable lands in the elite range. The Patriots already brought in help at edge during the draft, but Ponder could end up being one of those hidden gems that pushes for a roster spot. Think about what it could mean to see him lining up next to Keon White and Harold Landry, a relentless, athletic edge with a 15% pressure rate over the last 2 seasons. If there's a UDFA who might leap from anonymity to impact, it's Elijah Ponder. Grade, A+. Next up is a name that should be making headlines on its own, Efton Chisholm III. The wide receiver shattered records at the FCS level, breaking none other than Cooper Kupp's single-season reception mark with a ridiculous 120 catches and 1,300 yards. Yes, you read that right. He broke Cooper Kupp's record. You don't put up those numbers by accident. Chisholm might not have had the Division I spotlight, but his hands are as reliable as they come. The man is a walking highlight reel. For the Patriots' wide receiver room, which is deep but not solidified, this guy could quietly sneak into the conversation. Grade, A+. Then we've got C.J. Dipree, tight end out of Alabama. You want blocking ability? You got it. At 6 feet 5 inches, 256 pounds, he's built like a traditional wide tight end. A pass protector first, yes, but don't sleep on his red zone potential. This guy lined up on the line, did the dirty work, and now could bring some much-needed physicality to the tight end room. It's not flashy, but it's exactly the kind of tough, utility skill set that Bill Belichick has built his dynasty on. Grade, Lon Larison, meanwhile, is a fascinating entry into a crowded running back room. He was an all-purpose monster at UC Davis, 1,500 yards and 17 touchdowns in a single season, carrying the rock nearly 300 times. At 5 feet 10 inches, 209 pounds, he's not a burner, but he's got that bulldog style, plowing through defenders and staying upright. He's compact, powerful, and productive. If New England carries 4 backs again this year, Larison could slot into that Jamal Hasty-type role as a backup with real upside. Grade, moving down the list, the grading cools off, but there's still intrigue. Jack Connolly, guard out of Boston College, gets a B. At 6 feet 7 inches and over 300 pounds, he's a physical presence who isn't going to blow you away athletically, but offers solid depth along the line. He posted a respectable 7.76 RAS and fits the mold of a developmental interior lineman, big frame, NFL size, but lacking explosiveness. He's not your day one starter, but a guy to mold behind the scenes? Absolutely. Josh Minkins at safety could be a sleeper pick to keep an eye on. With the departure of veterans looming in question marks in the defensive backfield, Minkins brings a mix of versatility and special teams value. At 6 feet 1 inch, 207 pounds, he's physical, quick, and graded at a 9.52 on RAS. He's been tested all over the secondary and even has return skills. If he can prove himself on special teams, he might be one of those guys who sticks around longer than expected. Grade, B. Then we shift gears into the more uncertain territory. G. Scott Jr., a former wide receiver who converted to tight end at Ohio State, lands a C. He has a solid athletic profile but never quite found his niche. He's more of an H-back option, someone you might scheme into red zone looks, but with better tight end talent in this UDFA group, Scott may find himself on the outside looking in. Cole Burdo, an offensive tackle out of Merrimack, also lands in the C territory. He's got NFL size at 6 feet 5 inches, 311 pounds, and some versatility between guard and tackle, but lacks elite measurables. Think practice squad depth. A guy who might be learning behind a veteran like Morgan Moses if he makes it past cuts. Then there's Ben Waldridge, the quarterback out of Louisiana. And look, we're not sugarcoating things here. His college resume doesn't inspire confidence. 461 passing yards, 61% completion, and limited starting experience. As a potential QB3 behind Drake Maye and Josh Dobbs, he's a long shot. In fact, you'd have to imagine the Patriots would opt for a more seasoned backup if it came to that. Grade C. Cam Riley, the linebacker from Florida State, gets a C-. He's got size, 6 feet 4 inches, 228 pounds, but is most likely a special teams hopeful. The Patriots linebacker core is already stacked, so his odds of cracking the 53-man are slim unless he impresses heavily during camp. And now we arrive at the harshest reality. Demir Blankham, a receiver out of Memphis with solid college numbers, 98 receptions, over 1,600 yards, and 13 touchdowns, just doesn't pop athletically. At 5 feet 10 inches, 192 pounds, he's undersized for the outside, and likely fighting for a slot spot in an already crowded WR room. Grade C-. From here, the grades bottom out. Wilfried Payne, the French-born DT from Virginia Tech, earns a D+. He's a former tight end turned lineman, and while he posted decent ACC production, 3.5 sacks, 5.5 TFL, the position change and lack of elite physical traits limit his upside. And unfortunately, the FS roll in Jordan Polk, Brock Lampy, Brandon Crossley, and Jeremiah Webb. These are players that, based on paper and performance, don't project to stick in the NFL. Harsh? Maybe, but that's the reality of training camp battles and roster cuts. Every year, names come and go, and for many of these guys, it's a steep climb even to make the practice squad. Now that we've gone through the list, here's the real question. How many of these UDFAs actually make the final 53-man roster? 1, 2, maybe a practice squad shuffle? We've seen long shots rise before, but let's be real, this group is a mix of intriguing talent and developmental flyers. So now it's your turn. Who's your favorite UDFA in this year's Patriots class? Do you see Elijah Ponder getting real snaps this season? Could Lon Larison crack the running back rotation? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk roster battles. You've heard the breakdown, now I want to hear from you, Patriots Nation. And if you're still watching, that means you're one of the real ones, the die-hard Pats fans who live for these behind-the-scenes storylines, the training camp battles, and the search for that next underdog story. Because let's be honest, sometimes, the most compelling stories in Foxborough don't come from first-round picks. They come from the guys who walk into the facility with no guarantees, no media fanfare, just a shot, and a chip on their shoulder the size of Gillette Stadium. Let's rewind and zero in on one of the names that's going to quietly stir some conversation as camp approaches, Josh Minkins. We touched on him earlier, but let's go a little deeper. The safety out of Cincinnati has all the tools, the size, the instincts, and that ultra-valuable versatility. This isn't just a guy who lines up and